So I'm Jesse Kurlanchik. I'm the design director here on Spellbreak at Proletariat. I'm also one of the company co-founders.
And hi, I'm Steph Wu. I'm one of the product managers here at Proletariat.
So you'll hear me referring to Nick every once in a while. Nick is going to be our driver who we're looking over their shoulder.
Okay.
Yep, hi, I'm Nick. Good to meet you.
We're really excited about launching Chapter 2. It's going to be live on April 8th, so a little more than 2 weeks from today. We've been live, the game's been live for about 6 months now. We launched back in September. We did Chapter 1 back in December. And so this is going to be our second chapter release. We're going to highlight for you today 2 main features. So we're going to be talking about Dominion, which is a 5v5 objective-based game mode that we're introducing, as well as Leagues, which is the new ranked system by which players can compete. There's a bunch of other sort of smaller features, including, new quests for the chapter system, new cosmetics. You see Nick right here is wearing a new upgradable outfit. There's a whole bunch of balancing, a whole bunch of reworks to different aspects of combat and talents and all sorts of stuff that we can talk through over the course of the demo today. But the first thing that we can launch into, Nick, if you want to ready up and look at the talents. So with Chapter 2, we've actually revamped all the talents in the game. So there are 21 talents now. Every single one has been touched in some way, shape, or form. Some have moved categories. Some have had their points adjusted. There's, I think, 11 brand new ones. We retired 8 of them, if my math is correct. And so, our goal for the game is always to keep the meta fresh, to shake things up on players, sort of have new experiences for them from month to month, from chapter to chapter.
Now, the ones you removed, are those ones that are going to be out of the game permanently, or are you just removing them to get reworked and maybe they'll come back later down the line?
Yep, they're not gone forever. I mean, 1 or 2 might be gone forever. That were either, just panned across the board by players. So those would need to be reworked before being brought back. Others were just very, very powerful. But, we've introduced a whole host of new, very powerful talents. We've also changed the point system. So previously, talents went between 1 and 3 points, and you had a total of 6 points to spend. Now they go between 1 and 4 points, and you have up to 7 points to spend. The hope and goal there is that players end up with more viable builds. So you can do more things that are good, and not just like, I don't know, I put together a pretty mediocre build and I guess it lets me. So we sort of revisited that a whole bunch. With that said, I think we can ready up. So Steph worked a bunch on Dominion, which is the new game mode, and she's going to talk to that, but I will probably interject a bunch as she's talking.
Yeah, so before we hop into the match, I'll give you a quick overview. So Dominion is the new game mode that we're releasing in this chapter, and it is unlike the Battle Royale that you've played before in this. This is a much smaller scale, 2-team, 5v5 control and capture mode. So what we'll be doing is dropping into an arena based on one of the sections of the map from Battle Royale, so you might recognize it a little bit. So we'll drop into the arena, and then there will be 3 capture points. Our 2 teams are going to fight it out to try and control these capture points and eliminate as many of the other players as possible, as many times as possible. So we'll be earning points based on the number of exiles that we get and the number of points that we control and for how long. So that's kind of the general overview of it. I think also for this particular demo, we're going to be doing a 4v4, but it should be noted that we can also play this as a 5v5. This was just we were having some technical troubles on our end, in progress build. So after we wait in the lobby here, you'll see at the top there, there's a little score counter. So that's how we'll be keeping track of our points. So our goal is to make it to whatever the total number of points is in the center. That number of points adjusts based on the number of players in the match because it isn't always going to be a 5v5, so we have this 4v4 going. So we are the blue team, and we'll be aiming to get to that point total before the red team does.
How does this mode work in terms of like pickups and random chests and loot and stuff like that?
Yes. So this entire game mode does have RNG, similar to Battle Royale, in that you don't really know what you're going to get, but has a little bit different of a system. So right when we load into the match, we will actually start by interacting with a new character in the game, the Merchant. And what they will do is offer us a selection of gauntlets. So you first get to pick an offhand gauntlet, and then from a selection of runes. As the game goes on, every time you get exiled, you return to the Merchant and get to select either an upgrade to your gauntlets, an upgrade to your rune, a new rune, an upgrade to talents. Actually, not an upgrade to talents, an upgrade to your equipment, and anything from an array of those. And from there, that's sort of how you progress your power level as the game goes on.
Yeah, we don't have there's no chests in this game mode. We've introduced a series of NPCs, which you'll see when we log in. There's little camps of NPCs scattered around the map that you can basically blow up. They're very weak, and they will drop potentially scrolls, but also gear. Gauntlets and runes and potions. We had a bunch of players who, when they come into the game, they always say, wouldn't it be interesting if there was PvE? And so we're sort of we're touching that right now. So here's the shop. Here's the Merchant. These 3 gauntlets are randomly chosen from the pool of 5. You can pick whichever one you like, Nick, whatever you're competent with. The second thing we always give you is a common rune, and again, these are pulled from the pool of. Not quite sure the number is right now for number of runes, 8, 9. And that reroll button that you notice on the bottom gives the players a way to control the randomness. So you get 3 rerolls per match. So if you don't like, the options presented to you, you are free to. Hit reroll and pick a new.
So chances are you'll find a spec you like to play in the reroll or in the randomness.
Yeah. So the goal was, we want that randomness to still, give you variety from match to match. But if you want to spend the resources, as it were, you can get the thing you want.
This is definitely my type of mode. I love King of the Hill and Capture the Flag, capture points. I love these modes in games. They're one of my favorite modes.
Have you played like Domination at all? It's very similar.
That's all I play on Call of Duty when I play is Domination.
Yeah. So Nick just blew up a pack of NPCs. So they were very hapless. They will fight back and they will sort of disrupt you as if you're trying to capture a point that's too close to the NPCs, they'll, pepper you with fire and everything.
How long is the respawn when you're killed in this mode?
15 seconds. Mm-hmm. We're about to see one now.
Yeah, that's a large chunk of time, so you got to make sure to make the most of your playtime with that.
Yeah. So while you're respawning, we've got a soft catch-up mechanic. Where if you are knocked out by another player and you don't have enough to buy, we sort of catch you up and we give you 1 buy for free.
So it should be mentioned is the boon gem system there, because I don't think we've talked about it. So we mentioned the NPCs. So on the bottom right there, right above the talents, is a rhombus diamond. It's purple. And that's your boon gem. So that fills up every time you deal damage, and that is to other players and also to the NPCs. So farming the creeps, as they might say, is really important, not just to get the items that they drop, but also to fill up your boon gem. And then once that's full, it can hold up to a total of 3 charges, I believe. You can choose to recall if you would like to, in order to go back to the shop without having to feed the other team a kill. And then that also determines when you, also determines when you are exiled, how many different boons you can get. So you don't always just get 1. But as Jesse mentioned, if you don't have that gem full and you are exiled, which is what just happened to me on my screen, then you get an upgrade for free, which helps you upgrade a little faster than the other team and catch up.
One of the things you might have noticed there on Nick's screen was he had blessings, those sort of orange icons, which are a new aspect of the game mode. That basically we removed boots, belts, and amulets, the equipment, the non-gameplay affecting equipment from the mode, and replaced them with those boons, or those blessings, I'm sorry, which let you increase your armor, let you increase your speed, let you increase your max mana. So those are other things. There they are again. And so in the lower left, you'll see that Nick has an extra 40 armor.
Is that difficult to balance in the mode? I mean, because most battle royale games are reliant on, our gear-based systems that can give you an advantage. But in domination, in this mode, Dominion, you guys kind of want to have everyone on the same page, it feels like, which is nice.
Yeah, so we try. It's much more so than in BR, certainly, to keep everybody on a roughly equivalent power level. You'll see on the sort of upper right screen where it says next level 7. Instead of like the regular BR mode where when you cross a circle you level up, everybody in the match levels at the same time. So at 7-minute mark, everybody is going to hit level I think 3 at this point.
So that's your scaling mechanic. So people get more powerful as the match pursues automatically. Okay.
Yeah, but you can get there's some of the new talents. Some of the new other sort of additional features in this mode, you can get a leg up. So if you kill a bunch of the NPCs right off the bat, you probably get more scrolls than the opponents do, which increase your talent levels. If you happen to die a couple times in quick succession, you'll get a couple of power bumps. And similarly, like in MOBAs, if you're having a really good game, you are not necessarily going to be able to upgrade without recalling, and the recall timer is like 8 seconds. So that's a pretty hefty time to be sort of out of action.
What's to stop the other team from just completely? Because you mentioned MOBAs, and I know in MOBAs things can swing really quickly to where you're going to lose at like the 20-minute mark. What's to stop that from happening in a mode like this? Is the soft catch-up mechanic is probably one of the things.
So the soft catch-up mechanic helps. The other thing is it's generally pretty hard to dominate in a game of Dominion or Domination. With 3 capture points and only 5 players on a team, at most you're looking at fairly frequent rotations. So if 2 people on our team are defending 2 different points, then that lets 3 people get aggressive for a point. It's hard to maintain capture over everything, but in that situation, if one team is just running away with it, the game will end more quickly. Mm-hmm. We haven't talked about the scoring necessarily, but the way scores work is for every zone you control, you get a point passively every 10 seconds. So your baseline is, number of points you control is your points every 10 seconds. On top of that, your kills, for every time you knock an enemy, you'll get a point based on how many zones you control. So if you have 3 zones, every knock is worth 3 points. So if a team is doing very well, it's a pretty quick mercy killing. You don't necessarily have to be in a MOBA match that's gonna that's been determined in the first 10 minutes, but you're gonna have to play till 30-minute marker or whatever. These 2 teams are doing a relatively even match, but you can see at the top of the screen now, Nick's team has he gets a 2x bonus for his knocks.
And one of the things that happens in games like King of the Hill or Domination is that if your team starts losing, people start dropping. In this case, what happens if you're playing 5v5, you start getting dominated, and 2 people leave, and then it becomes 3v5?
Yeah, that is a very unfortunate situation. Mm-hmm. So what happens in those is we have a few other sort of catch-up mechanics built in for that. They're not great, obviously. If 4 people on your team leave, there's nothing we're going to be able to do to really stem that bleeding. We can give you a sort of a very detailed write-up of all the rules and stuff if that's interesting.
Oh no, I was just curious if it's like maybe like if you leave a match prematurely just because you're losing or you're upset, are you locked out of a match for like 3 minutes? Is there any kind of
sure.
punishment system for griefers or leavers?
So the sort of other major feature that's being introduced is leagues, which is the rank system. And so you'll see at the top middle of the screen these little titles pop up with an icon and some amount of XP or number. Those are the accolades that we use to give you crowns, which are the points required to sort of go up in rank. And once you sort of reach the sort of real competitive tier, I guess, it costs you to get into matches. So if you bail on a match, you do not get any reward, and you still get charged the entry fee. So if I jump in, I get charged, say, 250 crowns, and I leave right away, I just go down 250 points, and there's nothing I can do about it. So that helps incentivize people to at least stay through the end, because even if I lose a match, there's a chance that I've probably gotten enough points from doing other things, from capturing. If we watch, Nick's screen, every once in a while those numbers pop up. They quickly will surpass 250 points or 1,000 points. We're all in bronze right now, so there's no actual cost. But that is a detriment to leaving early, to your original question.
Mm-hmm.
So Blue's about to win, and we'll see at the end of the match, hopefully if they actually close it out, we'll see at the end of the match the accolade roll up. So there you go. So it said won the match, 500 crowns, little winner thing came up. There's a little bit of a bug in this build, that the match takes extra 10 seconds to end after it ended. But we'll see a roll up of all the accolades happen, and you'll see Nick's potentially his rank increase. All of the crowns will come in.
Is stuff you unlock in this game carries over to? I'm assuming carries over to the battle royale mode, and vice versa, correct?
Yeah, your class level, the XP you earn towards it is account wide, and so any cosmetics. So here's the roll up. So because they won, they got 500. Because Nick did a bunch of damage, assisting, warming up, etc. So the way the leagues work is that we want early players, new players, players who are not as familiar with the game, to have a sense of progress at all times before they get hit with the really competitive things. So through bronze and silver, it is just a one-way path. Once you get to gold, diamond, platinum, legend, etc., those start costing. Those start becoming, you have to do well if you want to progress. Otherwise, you'll slide backwards.
So just like any other normal ranking system, basically. People hate down ranking, but you know what? Like, that's where you are, and you should be matched with players of equal skill. You don't want to get boosted and then having just lose every fight. It's not fun, right?
Yep. We do a little bit of there's some flooring. So once you reach a new league, that's like a big momentous celebratory moment. And it's kind of depressing if you fall out of a league mid-season. So if you get into gold or platinum or whatever, you will be there forever. The chance of getting boosted or smurfing is these are non-trivial grinds. And so to get carried to platinum, say, would be a lot of effort on someone else's part. If you end up there, then you probably shouldn't be there. But we do a reset every season. Mm-hmm. So the seasons are tied to the chapters 1-to-1. So when this launches, we'll have 3 months or 12 weeks or so of league content for players to go through. And then at the end of that season, ranks drop back down, rewards are given out, and people can sort of regrind it again.
Nice. Now you guys, obviously with new chapter updates, you guys have a bunch of new cosmetics, usually emotes. Have you guys added a bunch of new ones to the game?
Yeah, I believe
this is the
very first quest for this chapter, and if you hit the view rewards button, Nick, we have a whole slew of new cosmetics and new rewards, and for a whole new 50 levels of the chapter pass.
Yeah, so brand new quests. I think I hooked up, literally I did it like this weekend. There were like 80 new cosmetics. So new skins, new emotes. All of our emotes, not about all of them, but a lot of them now have sound and music attached to them, which is kind of hilarious. That's a pretty good one.
There's definitely some effort into these costumes. I know some free-to-play games put no effort into their skins, and they just adjust the hue on a lot of them. But they're definitely seeing like substantial value here in how the costumes look.
Yeah, the cosmetics team has been doing a bang-up job. There's some amazing ones.
I like how you guys call it a chapter pass because it makes more sense to me when I visualize a chapter pass more than a battle pass. You know, like
it's a chapter. It's like a book. You read through your book.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so at the very top, there's the new upgradable outfits. So these give players a quest to complete, and when you complete the quest, you will upgrade to another tier. You actually get all of them unlocked eventually. They're separate outfits, but it gives players like a sort of a value add. You get a new outfit, and now you get a quest, and you can get 2 or 3 more outfits that are sort of improved versions of that one.
These all look great.
Yeah, those are all new. Anything with that teal border are new upgradable outfits. So do you have the Corsair, the lower tier versions, or you just have the max version? I think
I have some weird assortment of them.
Yeah, so there's like the low level. It's a fire skin. And then I think you've got I think I saw a mid-level one. Yeah, mid-level one's top right, and then top level one is mid-left.
You know, it's surprising how much like player identity is just cosmetic and how people appreciate that and like want to earn that stuff. It's really cool that you guys are giving players that option to like identify themselves with a certain element or a certain outfit, especially since the game is third person, so you can actually see said outfit.
Yeah, I think we were really surprised at a lot of the. Players put together these videos ranking the skins, and it's always funny seeing which skin players gravitate towards. Or, some people might love, the skin that Nick's got on right now. Other people are like, it's a little bit too much for me. It's a little bit too, too in your face, and they might like want something a little bit more mellow. They might want like someone that's, if you scroll down, Nick, in the bottom middle, there's he looks kind of like a sports player. He's like, sure. In the chapter pass, you saw, let's say, some familiar tropes for fantasy characters.
Yeah, I saw a druid skin down there, which is fun.
Yeah. There's druids. There's like a Dark Knight character. You can just go give a scroll, Nick. Get us into legendary stuff. So like, there's the old man wizard character. There's a Halloween skin. We had a bunch of skins that we did for Halloween last year. It's that pumpkin head guy. Yeah, skins are great. I love them. It's one of my favorite parts of the job is hooking up the skins. For whatever reason, I still do it, and I still love it.
Now, if you don't want to, say you don't want to grind the chapter pass, or are you able to buy the skins, or are these skins only earned via in-game?
So you can, in the top right, you can see there's a 17,000 number. Mm-hmm. That's gold. And players can buy gold with money, or you can earn it. So if you look on the quest screen, Nick, and you click in like daily quests, daily quests you can earn gold by doing, by playing through the chapters quests. You can get gold. So we give players a fairly generous amount of gold that they can buy stuff from the store with. Mm-hmm. If you want, you can buy the chapter pass with gold. I think it's 1,000 gold. Is that correct, Steph?
Yeah.
So the chapter pass is 1,000 gold. That comes with additional outfits, and then you can play to unlock more, or again spend gold to sort of skip that part of things.
Dominion, since you guys are introducing the new game mode Dominion, which is your take on Domination or King of the Hill, is this a good like kind of step foot in the door to like other modes, like maybe Capture the Flag or that or Conquest, something like that?
Yeah, 100%. I think in terms of how we implemented leagues specifically, we did it with a fairly generic system, so that we could rank a variety of modes without doing a lot of extra work. So if we want to add, CTF or like assault defense or anything like that, a lot of the work around Dominion was setting up a system that we could sort of more easily plug stuff into. We also, in the sort of process of doing Dominion, we went through, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 different prototypes of, would this sort of mode work in Spellbreak? Would this mode work in Spellbreak? And Dominion sort of highlighted a lot of the sort of best parts about the game. So the small scale combat, players had been asking for us to do an objective-based game mode for so long that we would have been negligent not to.
It's a completely different type of game. Like like Battle Royale is its own mode, and Domination King of the Hill is completely different, just the way you play and how you tackle it.
We told players about this yesterday. We told them about Dominion, and feedback has been almost 100% positive, with people just wanting to know more. They are already trying to dissect screenshots and be like, I think this is that part of the map, or I think they're using this thing or that thing, and it's been great to see. They seem to be really resonating with them.
Will Domination be a fixed arena, or will it be randomly generated depending on like the where you start?
So we have 4 different arenas for launch. They're sort of based on some of the players' sort of most favorite zones. So we were just in Dustpool, right?
Yeah.
I think we were in the deserty one. So there's one in Dustpool. There's one in Bogmore, which is the very swampy. It's like really foggy and dark and green. There's one in Halcyon, I think.
Yes.
Which is like a very classic fantasy, big castles, green, lush, rolling hills. And I can't remember where the 4th one is.
It's somewhere else that's nice and green. I don't know why I'm looking too.
Oh, it's the runes. It's the runes in Himwood.
Yes, it's Inwood.
And so that's like a cracked and sort of busted landscape. And players have basically said they really like these areas. They like fighting in these areas. So we built sort of arenas and sort of sub areas of the map that really highlighted them.
Now, I know you guys have done tremendous overhaul of the ruins and augmenting the powers and stuff like that, but I still have to ask, because our community will want to know, no new powers coming, not a death set or anything like that for the core powers, still the standard 6?
Yep, so we're not adding new classes yet. We basically have got a pretty good idea of what it's going to be, but I can't talk about it yet.
Oh, exclusives. Love exclusives.
Not yet.
No, it's hard because
Chapter 2.
all the classes, all the powers work with each other, so adding a new one to the pool kind of throws a wrench in the machine in a way.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about, publicly, we've talked a lot about how we think about, adding classes, and I'm happy to expound for hours and hours on that. The sort of the way you could do it, so we've got fire. Fire is a part of the game. We've got ice. That's a part of the game. There's nothing that says we couldn't make a new fire gauntlet. So it's like a flamethrower instead of a fireball, or instead of that ice sniper, the ice lance. It's a freezing mist, or a rolling snowball. That's a terrible idea. But by leveraging existing elements, we can sort of short circuit a lot of that stuff. And then there's making classes based on using the same gauntlet but in different ways. So you could have a class that it's the pyromancer that drops a flame wall, but now the flame wall is like a support structure. It heals your team when they go in, or stuff like that.
So you could change, you could change ways powers work rather than just adding a new class, right? That's the whole point.
Correct. That said, we could also just add a new class.
Has there been, if I'm thinking, because you guys pretty much covered the gamut in elements, has there been a requested element or class that people have been just clamoring for?
The most common ones, there's probably four that get called out most frequently. People say light and darkness pretty often. People talk about water because we have ice but not water. And people talk about quote nature, so they want like a plant gauntlet. And then after that, it gets into all sorts of weird stuff. The Captain Planet, people are like, you need a heart gauntlet. I'm like, I don't know what that's gonna do, buddy.
Heal. Just have it heal.
Yeah, heal. There you go.
That's great, guys. That's terrific. That looks like a lot of work went into this update. I can't even imagine how much dev time went into balancing and changing the ruins and how the powers were together. That must have been a lot of work.
Yeah, it was a lot of internal iteration, a lot of iteration with our community. So we've got a bunch of players that are not shy about giving their feedback, and then internal metrics, looking at how often do players do well with this rune or with this loadout or with this class, and then what are the weaker ones. Steph tells me about that all the time.
Do you guys have a number on the chapter pass and how much that will cost if people want to purchase and grind the ladder that way?
Yeah, the chapter pass will be 1,000 gold, which I think is what, $10 US?
Roughly, I believe.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good deal.
It is. It's a great deal. We compare very favorably to other games in terms of what you get for it too.
So how has, since you guys are now adding the ranking system, how does that help players get matched with the appropriate I want to say like gameplay level or like experience level?
Steph, I think this is tailor-made for you.
Oh yeah. So I work a lot on the matchmaking system, and getting to work on that system in tandem with leagues has been an absolute treat because it kind of speaks for itself a little bit in a way. So we've worked on the matchmaking specifically for this league system to make sure that players are matched with players of an appropriate skill level, both whether they choose to play ranked or even if they choose to play unranked. So where when players queue in for a ranked match, they'll be matched with players of a similar skill level to them, both on their team and on the opposing team. And also we have some calculations in place to make sure that if a team queues in and you have a wide range of players, that we will also attempt to make sure that we match you to another team that has a similar range, or at least, their averages sort of end up balancing out in sort of the same way. And that goes for ranked and unranked. Unranked doesn't take your league into account, but we do still have some skill metrics on the back end that we use to make sure that players who have reached the highest ranked in our leagues can't just go into unranked and start crushing brand new players who are still trying to learn the game. We still want to make sure that that's at least a little bit balanced over there.
Yeah, it's no easy task to line up players of equal skill value because people want to be and get into a match as fast as possible, but they also want to be the match as fair as possible. If you're rank 1, you should be ranked with not, you know what I mean? So it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, a lot of trade-offs, but we're hoping that we made the right ones.
That's awesome, guys.
Thankfully, a lot of it is driven on the server side. So, over the first couple of weeks, we're going to be watching very closely at how, players are performing, how they're, matchmaking, and then sort of adjust accordingly.
Awesome,
yeah,
guys.
big thing here is that right at the start, everyone's actually going to start, regardless of their experience in Spellbreak, at the lowest rank at Bronze 10. So at the very beginning, it's going to be a little interesting watching how this plays out, because the more skilled players who have a long history with the game are going to advance through the ranks very quickly. But everyone's got to start somewhere. So there might be a little bit of skill imbalance right at the start as everyone starts to balance out. But once everyone distributes themselves into the appropriate leagues that they belong in, then I'm hoping that we'll start getting some matches that make a lot of sense and give players the right amount of challenge while also not feeling like they're unfair in one direction or the other.
Steph, was there any difficulty in matchmaking because the game is cross-play? Like, what was some of the challenges in that regard? I mean, obviously people have keyboard or mouse or even more powerful PCs that get faster frames or bigger draw distance, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so with our matchmaking, we do try to accommodate people playing on PC versus people on console. We definitely want people who have similar control schemes playing with each other. As you mentioned, it's not necessarily the most fair experience if someone playing like handheld on Switch is up against someone with the top of the line PC. So we do try to prioritize matching players with people with similar control schemes if we can, if at all possible, just to try and level the playing field a little bit there.
That's awesome, guys. And when will people be able to experience Chapter 2? Is it releasing simultaneously on all platforms?
Yep, it'll be out everywhere on April 8th.
That's so impressive. A simultaneous release. That's great. Usually it's PC first and then console a few weeks later or a week later. That's great. That's happening all at the same time.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time getting cross-play, cross-progression, and sort of simultaneous releases to be possible. In an accidental, it was completely, we didn't set out to do this. We were the first game to ever launch with full crossplay, cross-progression, and the full sort of 9 ever on launch day.
Wow.
Which was very, very surprising when it happened, because we were all working from home in a pandemic.
So pretty impressive. And then the last question I have is basically one that I've talked to your dev team before about is PS5, Xbox Series X. Are we going to get frame boost, better performance modes on those eventually? What's going on with that?
I am the wrong person to ask. I'm sorry. I know we work in backward compatibility mode, but I don't have anything to say about PS5 or Xbox SX.